any time to panic in Indianapolis.
Cold-blooded.
Let's just go ahead and assume Nick sneezed and wasn't laughing at Carson Wentz. And only 12 days until number 12 returns to New England's visiting locker room. Is Belichick's legacy tainted for letting Brady and Gronky walk out the door? Jenna Wolf alongside Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, and our resident Patriots fan, Kevin Wilds. This is First Things First on a Tuesday morning. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Nick, regrets? I think Belichick's got a few, no? After what he's seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, Wilds maybe disagrees. I'm excited to talk about it. Belichick's legacy tainted. Was he ever even that good? Should they have even hired him? These are just things people are asking.
We're going all the way back.
Just things people are
asking. We're going all the way back.
Yep.
We'll head up to New England, but we got to head first to Lambeau. A.Rodgers told us this team would bounce back, and they did in a big way. We got a little Lions, we got a little Packers. It's Monday Night Football. A.Rodgers on target all night, throwing darts to Devontae Adams, and Robert Tonyan hooked up with A.Jones for 3 touchdowns as well. If you had hands, you were catching balls from Aaron last night. 4 touchdowns and over 80% of his 27 attempts completed. Packers beat the Lions 35-17. A.Rodgers improving to a perfect, look at this, 7-0. Following a loss in the Matt LaFleur era with 20 touchdowns. How about that? No picks. Seems pretty good. Here was the MVP after win number 1.
Earlier in the week, you said that there wasn't a change in preparation, but was there a change in attitude, especially after some of you guys said maybe there was some overconfidence going into the Saints game?
I don't know. I think we maybe tried to show that we cared a little bit more tonight.
Obviously you cared last week, but do you feel like it looked like you didn't last week? Is that kind of what you're implying? What do you how do you would take that?
I just think people like to say a lot of and it's nice to come back in here after a game like that. I think that there's even more now than when I started playing. There's so many overreactions that happen on a week-to-week basis. So it's nice to come out and have a good performance and get the trolls off our back for at least a week.
Wow. All right, Broussard, let me start with you. Which was more interesting last night? Rodgers' 4-touchdown performance, or what you just heard, his post-game comments about getting the trolls off his back?
Well, it was obviously the comments, by far. All right, what he did on the field was not surprising in the least bit. Is there anyone that thought they were going to go out and lose to the Lions and Rodgers was going to play poorly? He did exactly what I expected him to do. Yes, they waited 2 quarters to get going, but still, that's what I expected from Aaron Rodgers and from the Packers. Now, the comments, that was interesting. There's a part of me that would like him to be more like a Lamar Jackson, maybe even a Pat Mahomes, where you just ignore the outside noise. But then as I think about Aaron Rodgers' history, and I think about how in high school he wasn't highly recruited, how in the draft he falls to the late first round, how he had to sit out his first 3 years of his career behind Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that plays his best football when he has doubters, when he's paying attention to the skeptics and the haters, and he has a chip on his shoulder and feels like he has something to prove. He won a Super Bowl in his 3rd season when people were still wondering, is he really a guy that can replace Brett Favre? And then last year, after the Packers go out and draft his replacement, to use his words, Jordan Love, he goes out and has what I think is the best season of his career at age 37. And after an offseason in which he's getting a lot of love and he wins the PR battle with the Packers, and then he sits down with Erin Andrews and tells her, I have nothing left to prove, he just happens to go out and play the worst game of his career. All right, so then he comes back with what he did last night. Now the chip's back on his shoulder because the trolls are back out. I actually think it's a good sign, Wilds, for Packers fans that Aaron Rodgers feels like he's being slighted again, like there's people out there running their mouths a little too much about him. I think it's a good sign.
are those people, Broussard? Did you take offense to this comment? Because I think that you might be one of the people that he's talking about, Broussard. Because he went on Pat McAfee's show and said, a performance like that, warrants a little bit of criticism. And he's like, you know what? I'm done with that. And then Nick broke out his Aaron Rodgers impression. And you said that he can't perform in the clutch. So so Aaron Rodgers is now name called. He is calling people trolls because he wants that fire inside him that you said that you wanted to see. So did you take offense to this comment since you mocked him relentlessly last week?
None whatsoever, Wilds, because all I do is point out facts. I just pointed out that he struggled in the NFC title games, which is a fact. So that I don't troll him. I just point out facts. And it's lighting a fire in him, though. And like I said, good for Packers fans.
Okay, so in Aaron's defense, while Broussard points out facts, he does omit one specific season in the story arc of Rodgers is always the best when he's doubted, which is when they were the defending Super Bowl champions, that next season was the best season of his career. He had 45 touchdowns. He had 6 interceptions. He had a then record 122 passer rating, and the team went 15-1. Now, they lost their playoff game to the Giants, and if you want to say, yes, you don't win the Super Bowl every year. Agreed. But I don't know that I buy into the idea that Rodgers' excellence ebbs and flows with whatever his public approval rating is. I think his excellence is pretty consistent throughout his career, except for the years he had his collarbone snapped. So I'm going to be the outlier on the show, I guess. I'm going to say the more important, more impressive, more interesting thing was what he did on the field. The 4 touchdowns, the 0 picks, and specifically one play. Because if people didn't watch this game, the end was a blowout, but it was not a blowout throughout. And this is 3rd and 12 to open the second half in at the moment, a 3-point game. Look, I look at this. I just watch this play right there. That seems like a pretty important spot for the Green Bay Packers. And Rodgers made a throw that there's one other human being on the earth that regularly makes. 3rd and 12, we know you're throwing. I've got about a 2-foot by 2-foot window to drop it into. We're trailing the Lions. We're losing. Like, if they punt there and the Lions go down and score, we're having a totally different conversation. So I think the more interesting and impressive part was the actual game, where I will agree with you, Broussard, and I'll throw it to you, Wilds, because I think you're on a similar track here. It's very clear, and Rodgers does not hide it, he has rabbit ears. And not only does he have rabbit ears, what's an animal that talks a lot? A parrot mouth? I'm not sure. That's probably not the right. But my point is, you text me during the day, and you were like, is it weird to you that Rodgers is doing interviews like he was on Rich Eisen's show on the day of a game? Like, he has the weekly hit with McAfee. He's more interesting in the press conferences than most quarterbacks. He is accessible at a level superstar quarterbacks almost never are. I have a relationship, off camera, off the air with Patrick Mahomes. He won't come on this show because during the season, he basically only does his mandated media appearances. Rodgers, it seems like if you've got his number and you got a relationship, he'll come talk to you even if it's 9 hours before kickoff. So I do think, Wilds, there is an interesting angle to it, but I think his performance last night was so excellent it overshadows any of the comments.
Yeah, and I just want to dig into something Broussard said last week, because I think that you're right, Broussard, that you said you wanted to see him play with a little more anger and a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder, and that would sort of bring out a better performance. I think that his sort of quietness and his sort of understatedness belies how much anger he has boiling inside of him. And I think that troll comment was sort of like you just saw sort of the tip of the iceberg. When people said like, hey, did you show that you cared? He's trolling the media. Like, yeah, we cared. I didn't care about last game. So do you think that do you agree with me that you think that sort of the anger here is going to fuel him to a better season than we expected?
I don't know about better than we expected because obviously he's coming off an MVP year, but I think he's going to have a typical Aaron Rodgers year. And Nick, I wasn't saying he's been inconsistent his whole career. He's been great for the most part his whole career. Like you said, he struggled a few years before LaFleur got there, and now he's been resurrected. But when he's won, and I would say last year was his best year, but it's arguable. But he was